The lockdown's been okay. Surreal at first, obviously being restricted in the ways that we have been, and it's fortunate that it's coincided with a really good spell of weather, because if you remember, February was so wet and the prospects outside of doing anything were so dreary. It's a great shame that the walking football was closed down, actually, because we'd put up with some shocking weather over the winter. Rain almost every time we played, cold of course, but the numbers had held up, and it was going really well, and then the rug was pulled from under our feet. But that said, in a wider sense, it's been fine really. It's not really a challenge, I don't think. I might have resented it a bit more when I was younger, but no, it's been a breeze. Well, I wouldn't say it's been a breeze, but it's not bad. As regards spending my time, in the early weeks I decided that we needed to build a new website and get a new web provider, a hoster, and that took me the best part of a fortnight, probably a couple of hours on and off, to both keep the material from the old site and find a new host and build a website more or less from scratch, and I think it's gone quite well. It's we've had just over 2,000 visits in I think 5 weeks since it went live. So in April there was that to do, March. So when the website was done, I set to on doing a couple of films, Striders when they got the new shirts, and this little thing for VE Day, which was a lot of fun doing. Quite a bit of archive footage from the era, World War II, and interspersed it with images from our sessions, which I enjoyed doing, and it seemed to go down quite well, that. But it took an inordinate amount of time, to be honest, and I do waste time, I suppose. But I like the end result, and you know, if a few others do, that's great. Everybody's happy. Some people think I'm probably daft spending so much time doing it, but it's creative. I didn't get much of a chance to do that in my working days. It's useful and it's interesting, and as I say, the end result quite satisfying sometimes. It can be annoying though when you can't get it quite right. April, and then done a few jobs, a few minor jobs around the home, paint jobs, and painted a door, painted a ceiling. But I'm not a great decorator, and I'm aware that if it goes on for much longer, I might have to get stuck into some bigger decorating job, which I don't really relish. Once I get into it, it's okay, but I need the motivation, and at the moment I am getting a bit of it from my wife. But spending it on probably 2 or 3 hours a day online doing this and that, and not reading enough. I should read more. Don't watch much television. The odd programme catches my eye. My wife likes animal programmes, vets, dogs, things like that, and I do tap into them from time to time, but there's not much that really grabs me. But at the moment I'm watching Little Boy Blue, about that young Everton lad that was shot in Liverpool, and that's been a bit of an eye-opener really into youth culture in Liverpool, but certainly quite gripping the way the in-depth investigation goes. As regards progress nationally, I've just seen the Chancellor saying he's extending the furlough scheme till October, and by then employers will have had to increase what they pay towards the cost of the wages. I just shudder to think what this is costing the country as a whole. It could be catastrophic for the government if there's a second spike. Well, for all of us, not just the government. Any government would find this almost impossible to deal with. But to think that we've been paying the wages of so many people for how many months already, and to keep doing so into the future, it's frightening really, what the ramifications are for all of us. But the death toll's been horrendous, of course, and you must never forget that. Thankfully most younger people seem to have got away with it, but there has been the odd instance. A lot of NHS workers have died, ancillary workers, cleaners. people that I guess we've taken for granted in the past. And care home workers, mother-in-law's in a care home. I don't think we've seen her for about 8-9 weeks. We usually go once every week, every 10 days or so, but she's not had any visits. Dementia home. So it's taken its toll on a lot of people, and to think about walking football in that context makes it a bit trivial, really. So, especially when the younger people are having it so hard these days for one reason and another. If they see an old guy bleating about his walking football, they'll probably think I've got a screw loose. Work background, I have had varied jobs. Started when I left school as a trainee sales manager, sales clerk in a big multinational asbestos company, and that was doomed, I think, long term. Asbestos cement, yeah, started off getting to know pressure pipes and sewerage pipes, which hadn't always been my ambition, I must admit, but I couldn't be a professional footballer, I wasn't good enough. Couldn't be a musician because I didn't have the patience to sit and learn an instrument. Can't sing much. So the only alternative that I really fancied was lorry driving, and I couldn't really do that until I was 21. But in the meantime I had lots of jobs, everything from office manager to kitchen porter in a hospital. I could pack a job in on a Friday night and get another one Saturday morning, those were the days. But started driving lorries in the late 70s, and to me it was better than work. So I probably did that for about 26, 27 years. The last 10 or 15 years class 1 Arctics, and that was easy. I was lucky. I got probably the easiest lorry driving job in Manchester, so I probably settled into a bit of a rut, but it was a comfortable rut, and no regrets really. What's the point? Not really, no. I left my bike at the caravan in Wales. We've not been able to go and get it obviously, so I had to buy another one. I bought a second-hand bike 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I've been doing it a bit, but I'm finding gradients are hard work. I'm conscious of the fact that I'm putting a little bit of weight on, kicking the ball in the yard when the dog doesn't get in the way. I'm not really much of a... We do walk 2 miles with the dog every morning, so that's something. And I need to get the cycling developed a little bit more, I think, to justify the outlay for the bike. But it's a good bike, so... If the good weather keeps up, I'll get out on it again next week and try and build the mileage up to about 5 or 6 miles a day. I know that's not a lot, but it is for me. I'm not a big walker either unless there's a ball involved. As regards running, with hip replacements, I've just been doing more harm than good on hard surfaces. We did have a treadmill, but it packed up. So no, I'm not really keeping in shape. We'll just have to see how that goes. I know when I get back, if I get back to playing some kind of walking football, I'll have to take it easy at first. A lot of us will, because we'll be getting muscle sprains, strains, etc. Restrictions, well, the caravan that we have in Wales is a nice place to visit. We usually go there 2 or 3 times a month, but we've not been able to do that, of course. So that's one. Just calling to see family as well, although we have had distance visits, we've kept in touch. Our son's not been able to come up from Market Harborough for quite a long time now. I've not seen him for about 6 months, so that's been tough, but you know, we keep in regular touch, telephone, etc. Regards that, after that it's mostly walking football where we've been restricted. And from being involved a year ago to 3 days a week, sometimes 4, which was probably a bit excessive. I'm mostly Tuesday and Thursday now at Denton, but obviously I think we're in about 73 days since we shut down there. So that's about it. Miss the ball, kicking the ball about. Just the camaraderie, seeing friendly faces every week, 2 days a week. Just being engaged with the ball, playing the game, stroking the ball about, etc. And the various paraphernalia, getting it all set up, getting it ready, and making sure everything's right. And that's what I miss the most, I suppose. just wish some people would take it a little bit less seriously than they do. That's the main thing I'd try to change. I always call it a late life bonus. For me, that's what it is. Never thought I'd play anything like the game again, and it's a pale shadow of football, let's face it, but it is a derivative, and you can get the same amount of enjoyment from it. It really is a more beautiful version of the game, in my opinion. But some people do take it ever so seriously, and you know, arguing with referees and just getting wound up when things don't go their way. And for me, that's a shame. We should realise what it's about, that it's there to enjoy, a bit of fun really. And I think if more of us, I think we're lucky really, most of our guys are fine. Maybe this period of absence will give us time to reflect on what the game's about. I think the new normal at first is going to be distanced sessions, probably just kicking the ball to each other, maybe using some of the equipment that we've got in a training sense. But that can be fun, you know, we can work out a few drills and take it from there. I can't see any relaxation in social distancing coming for quite a while now. I mean, it is a non-contact game of course, but we all know that contact does occur. It would be possible, I think, to play some kind of zonal game, 5 aside perhaps, with the mini goals, like a sweeper-keeper game adapted, because I think conventional walking football is going to be off the agenda for quite some time. 2 metres may come down to 1 metre, which would help, but that's still quite a big ask to play a conventional game with people who, you know, can be exuberant and keen to get the ball, not get stuck in, but keen to challenge opponents. We've all got to learn to stand off eventually when the guidelines are relaxed. But I think certainly in the initial period of going back, we'll just be training, kicking the ball about, passing to each other, using the rebounders we've got, the passing arcs, and the slalom poles. We can get in and out of them, just to get a bit fitter, build up our exercise levels a bit. I think that's what we've got to look forward to in the initial stage. Frivolous but personal. Well, frivolous, yeah. DVD. I've got a DVD on the way actually. It's George Harrison's Concert for Bangladesh. I've hankered after that for about 50 years, believe it or not. Not the DVD, the CD, but I saw the DVD on eBay at a reasonable price. 20 quid actually. It's quite expensive. And it was a groundbreaking concert in 1970. I almost went to the cinema to see it, but I didn't. And George got a few of his mates together and put on a concert in Madison Square Garden with Bob Dylan, Leon Russell, Billy Preston and a few others, Ringo and Jim Keltner. And I've been into George a lot lately. I've been watching a lot of his DVDs, listening to him. Martin Scorsese did a very good film. I've watched the Beatles anthology several times. I'm a huge Beatles fan. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that coming. I can see, hopefully it'll justify the expense. I'm sure it will. Looking forward to watching that with my wife, who bought me All Things Must Pass in 1970, the triple album, and it was 7 quid then, and that was a lot of money for a record. It's a triple, 7 quid, yeah. She always reminds me she bought that for me. I think it was my birthday. I'd have been 20, my God. 20 years of age. Tell a lie. The last CD I bought was the Abbey Road 50th anniversary remix. There's some great demos on there, and the sound is so much better than it was on my original album, of course, which was worn out years ago, and the CD that I replaced it with about 20 years ago. Well, now this new remix that's been done by Giles Martin is superb, and I've played that several times since I got it about 7 or 8 weeks ago. So that was the last CD I bought. And my favourite film would be The Shawshank Redemption, I think. That's a choice shared by a lot of men. It's a film that didn't do very well at the cinema, but word of mouth, when it was released on video, brought it a lot of attention, and I think some statistic like about 60% of American adult men said it was their favourite film, which is remarkable. But it's a Stephen King story. It's got 1 or 2 fatal flaws, but the plot is almost believable. And it's brilliant script, brilliant concept. Morgan Freeman and Tim Robbins are absolutely fantastic to watch. So my favourite film would always be the Shawshank Redemption. Although recently one did come close to dislodging that, and it was a film called 71, about a squaddie in Belfast who was stuck between a rock and a hard place. And for a time I thought, is this my favourite film? Because it was very gritty, very real, and fantastic. I can recommend that to anybody. 71 it's called. What have I learned about myself? Probably that I don't do enough in the house. I can be a bit lazy, you know. I get stuck behind that laptop, get a bit absorbed, take things in the house for granted, really. I'm glad that we had the garden done. Some nice flowers coming along. We're very fortunate, really. We've got an outdoor space. We've got a house that was paid for years ago. Got a decent garden at the front and got the yard at the back now. It's a yard. What have I learned about myself? That I don't miss Premier League football. I've not really missed that at all. Not compared to the walking game we play. Missed that obviously. Yeah, lazy in the house, I suppose. I'll have to address that.